Here.
Sarah? Caroline? Here. Sabrina? Here. Leonard? Harrison?
Here.
Kevin?
Here.
And Jose.
Here.
Did I not say anyone's name? Maggie. Maggie.
Okay, so welcome back again. So we are your executive board over here. We usually have our, is that special area on this side? Did you guys already divide up? Okay. Academic on this side, special area on this side. As you can see, we're missing a few people. We are working on filling those seats in the election, so if you guys know anybody who's interested, definitely let them know that we have open spots. We also have our University Senate is full at the moment, or we're missing spot. We're missing spot. We're missing one spot person from there. But yeah, other than that, everybody should be here. You guys should have gotten a Senate starter pack. Did you send that out?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was sent out. Your meeting minutes will be sent out the same way that they were sent out this past 2 days ago. And we have a full agenda, so I don't want to take too much of your time. I am going to be heading out early. I have a wedding to attend. But other than that, I think we can get started. And we're also going to get you guys name tags. I know it's difficult now, like seeing new faces and not necessarily knowing who's who or like what position everybody holds. But we are going to try to get ourselves name tags and you guys name tags with your name and position.
Okay, so we'll be following broadly Robert's Rules of Order. So if you look over that cheat sheet I sent out, it'll be somewhat helpful. I'll be the chair. I'll acknowledge you if you want to speak. Just raise your hand and just be considerate of whoever's talking and try not to interrupt, and we'll just move through the items in the agenda. So first we have Vice-Chancellor Thomas who'd like to give us a
Hi everybody. I know a lot of you, and some I haven't met yet. Welcome back. It's so good to see your faces. It gets a little quiet around here in the summertime, and so we're glad that we're back and ready to go. I know you have a full agenda, and so I won't take a lot of your time, but I wanted to just talk a little bit about my role here at the university, as well as hopefully the relationship that we'll have as SGA and our office going forward. So my responsibility here at the university is to supervise public and career services. And so that includes many of the offices that you use on a regular basis, the offices of private leadership, the students office, the counseling center, the BBA, the health center, athletics, the career development center, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of those services come under my umbrella here at the university. I am very, very pleased to have really forward-thinking and open leadership team, and so all of those offices rest in sight. I have a great leadership team, and most of those directors all of those directors are happy to see you come in the door and make a suggestion or bring up a concern or whatever that may be. But there are times, and those times are often, that those concerns come initially to my attention. And I am happy to be the person that receives those concerns. I work very regularly with Dean Williams and with our SGA board to kind of make sure that the student life at Rutgers University is a good one, it's productive, and it meets your needs. So that's kind of the short story. We meet, the board, myself, and Chancellor Pantry meet a few times a year, but even then, my door's open. My office is on the 3rd floor in this building. I'm happy to have a pop-in anytime. In the spring, I created a Vice-Chancellor's Advisory Board. Some of you around this table are on that advisory board, and that is an opportunity for you to come back to us on the experience that you are having here. I don't ever expect that we are going to agree 100% of the time. You will be students if that was the case. But I would like to think that we can establish a really good working relationship, and so we can move toward what works for you and makes this university a really positive experience. So stop by, use the advisory board, funnel your concerns along the avenues that you have. Good things and bad things, we want to hear it all. And wish it that this SGA has a really awesome. So thanks for watching.
Thank you.
And real quick, something really special about Rutgers Newark is that our administration is super receptive to any ideas that we come up to them with, and especially Vice-Chancellor Thomas, Chancellor Pantry, all of them. We always have roundtable discussions, whatever issues that we come up to them with, they're always very reactive, and they always have some sort of thing to, please the students and give the students a better experience at Rutgers. So they're really amazing. So again, round of applause.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Lieutenant Hendricks with the RUPD. So you can speak wherever. There was an incident on our campus recently, and we just thought we could bring RUPD to discuss what happened and how we can go about that.
Not just regarding the incident, but we always we partner with the RUPD often, so just to get an introduction to them and get to know the team that we work with.
So we planned this to be somewhat of an introduction. I'm going to introduce myself to people that are here, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Carnival, who will talk a little about our department. We have some literature for you. If you have any brief questions, we can fill them very briefly. We are planning to do a follow-up meeting with the board. So if there are any general concerns, hopefully in the near future that we can that we can try to troubleshoot, incorporate in our strategic plan. We definitely are looking forward to that. I know a good bit of you. For those who I don't know, my name is Jamie Hendricks. I'm the Lieutenant for Rutgers University Police Department. We have Lieutenant Jordan. Minor Jordan for Rutgers University Police Department. He is a daytime patrol commander. Next to him is Chief Carnival, who is the Chief of Police for Rutgers University Newark and Rutgers Environmental Health Sciences. Next to him is James Del Grasso, who is the Public Safety Manager. Mr. Del Grasso is in charge of the security officers and the community service officers, our student workers who are employed by the department. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Cortez. I'm going to hand out some literature break.
Good morning. Just a quick introduction. First of all, let me just say that we're here to serve you. And I think that's important that we provide a service to our campus and our community. We do have about 40, 50 police officers, sworn police officers that work for our department 24/7. We answer all types of calls and provide all types of services. In addition to that, we have approximately 80 security officers that you see throughout our facilities. And we also have about 75 community service officers, which are students that work here at Rutgers University and participate in our community service officer program. In addition to that, we probably have about 12,000, 15,000 students in Rutgers, 14,000. And we ask that those 14,000 be our partners in security, because if you see something, say it early so we can go investigate or at least respond to what's going on. I would like to tell you that we provide a variety of services. We do escort services, we do community programs, we do our Good Neighbor program, which is going to be on September 12th. We normally team up and partner with NJIT, the Student Government Association, fraternities, in order to get to know our neighbors in the community and they get to know us. Because sometimes one of the problems we have is they don't understand our needs and we don't understand their needs. And sometimes communication is lacking, and that leads to sometimes misperceptions in terms of what campus do, students do, and what the community expects. Something just as simple as we tell individuals who live off campus, listen, keep the noise down, pick up your garbage, do the things that you would normally do at home. Well, maybe not at home, but that people would expect you to do. And I think they also have to understand too that we are a vibrant community and we want to be part of that community. But we want to be part of the community in a positive way. And that's why RUPD strives to be, to have a good working relationship with all the organizations within the campus, with the community, with our faculty and staff and employees, because, it's not simply just answering calls for service, okay? We try to help you in any way, or your students or your counterparts in any way that we can. Sometimes, it might be a referral. Sometimes it might just be getting you from point A to point B. Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to. Sometimes you just want to follow a report. Sometimes you got property that's been lost, and you know what? We'll help you do those things. But overall, I want you to think of us not as a quote law enforcement agency that wears a uniform and people have a tendency not to talk to. I want you to know that my people, they're real people. They have emotions just like you do. They have families just like you do. They have the same feelings that you do. A lot of the people that I have hired and that are within our police department are former students here. Okay? So they go from being in our community service program, they graduate, and we hire them on as police officers because they have a good understanding of what's going on. And the last thing I'll tell you is that we have a very diverse police department that's reflected on all the North Campus. So I think it's important to bear that in mind, that we don't have one impression of what policing should be. Our policing goal is to answer your call. And if it's a call for service, we handle that service. If it's a call for assistance, we handle that assistance. Sometimes we are called to help people that don't want help. You understand what I'm saying? Sometimes we call people to help people who are distressed. And sometimes we're called because people just do silly things. I.e., they come, drink too much, they'll lose something, they'll run into something. But I want to urge you one thing. I want you to urge you to be our partner and to call us. And if you have a question, I would prefer that you reach out to us and ask to get good information versus just bad information, because we know there's a lot of misinformation out there. So I would ask you to call me, Lieutenant Hendricks, Lieutenant Jordan. We have Jim Del Grosso from our security, or any member of our department. Ask if you need a question answered or want information, because a lot of times there is information I can share with you that will help resolve some of the issues, clarify some things. And there are times when I might be able to tell you anything because there might be an ongoing investigation. But with that, I would tell you we have lots of programs. If you look, I'd like to see all of you at the Good Neighbor program, if possible. And there's also, within this handout, ways to communicate with RUPD. We have the text program, we have our central communications. So a lot of good information here, and a lot of good information we can provide. So, any questions?
Just
Thank you.
to recap something that Chief said, to echo his sentiment that accurate information is definitely the best information. We stand speaking with Sabrina on the sidebar regarding the incident that happened at the business school, outside the business school. Chief can echo and say that we're not actively investigating that incident with the pedestrian. We are supporting the agency, but accurate information is the best information. Sometimes when you put that information out via the media, it gives a certain aspect that things happen one way versus it could have been somewhere else. So here's how you can partner with us. Every semester, we do a pedestrian safety campaign with NGIT Police Department where we try to encourage positive pedestrian behavior, not only with motorists, but also with our pedestrians. Every semester, we look for student volunteers to help us canvass, provide information regarding safe pedestrian habits. If you're interested, you can use the e-board as a conduit to orchestrate this. We would love for you guys to volunteer, or to maybe come back and do a focus group and say, how do we get our students engaged to be responsible motorists, but also responsible pedestrians as well. It's part of a statewide initiative, not something specific to this area, the Street Spread campaign. So if there's something that you're passionate about in that, and that sparks some kind of motivation, we look forward to hearing from you.
Yeah, one of the things that we do year-round is we provide meals for a lot of the Newark schools. Okay, we provide meals for children who don't take little boxes they take home because they may not have access to the meals at that. So we do that on a continuous basis, and we're always asking for partners in that process, because there are 3 or 4 schools that we have adopted. Well, Jamie, how many meals did we give out last time?
The Don't Miss a Day meal drive provided a little over 2,000 meals to 4 schools, right before the Newark Public School spring break.
And you know what? That sounds like a lot, but when you get there and you realize we're not doing this every day. You know, and you see how that helps a lot of these students. You see how it motivates them. I would like to see you guys participate in that because, you know, when you, at that age, you want to look at people who are just slightly older than they are, see how they progress and how they made it. Because a lot of us may have had a similar path, you know, to where they're born. And we can understand the empathy and some of the concerns and some of the fears that they may have. But I think when they see us there, you know, and they see what can be done together, I think those projects help not only develop those children, but give them a ray of hope. You know? So with that, I thank you so much.
We also have another key contact that came in the room, Lieutenant John Bell. He's lieutenant who's in charge of special events, Office of Emergency Management, so he would be a resource. For example, if you have a dignitary or a speaker that is coming and you want to do any security plans, any risks, any coordination of security details, or any kind of large-scale special event. Thank you.
How's everyone doing?
Have a great day.
We really appreciate you coming and furthering this really important connection. So
Thank
you
you.
very much.
So far, we get one pass around. For me, it's Lieutenant Thomas. Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care. Okay. The next item on the agenda we have is the budget. So, Anna, if you'd like to give your presentation.
Okay, so good morning, well, afternoon now. Good afternoon, you guys. So I just wanted to briefly go over two different budgets today. One is the general SGA budget, and the second one is for tier funding, but we'll do that one next. So this semester, wait, before I start, does anyone have any questions? Okay. So our total budget for this year is $140,000, and we split this so that 77.5% goes towards SOIS funding, which means it goes back to the organizations. From that 140,000, a remaining 15% goes towards SGA, the executive board, for us to use for events, food pantry funding, whatever else we decide to use it for. And then 7.5% goes towards the Senate pairs. So this part is probably the most important for you guys to know, but that 7.5% that goes towards Senate pairs is split equally between each Senate pair. So both RBS senators, for example, get $1,050, and it's the same for all of the Senate pairs. So for these funds, you can use them for events or anything basically that has to do with your constituency specifically. So for example, if you're a SASN senator, you can only use your funds for events that are happening in your school that benefit the School of Arts and Sciences at Newark. Same for RBS, same for all the other Senate pairs. Before you use these funds, you do have to let me know, because we need to figure out if your event or whatever you're using it for, if it's an eligible cause to use Senate funds. So I'll probably send out more information via email. Maybe there will be a form attached that you guys can fill out just to make it easier to request access to that money. So I'll let you guys know via email how that's gonna work going forward. So the way I have this set up is that for the executive board budget, that 15% that I was talking about, so it comes out to $21,000 for the semester. And basically I have it set up so that when we have expenses, usually we vote on spending money, those can be deducted from that $21,000. And then we have a separate budget for allocations board, which is $126,000 about. This money is a sum of all the rollbacks from prior academic year, which means that money that we gave out through SOIS funding to student orgs that they didn't use comes back to us into the allocations board account. And that's money we can use this year to give back out to the student orgs as a secondary source of funding after SOIS. So this year we have a lot more left thanks to last year's chief of finance, who set it up so that he has leftover money. So I'm gonna follow his lead essentially and only use 40% of that total each semester, so that we're using 80% and the remaining 20% stays in that account for the next year's SGA. for them to use in allocations board. So that is kind of a cushion so that if student orgs don't have money left over that doesn't roll back to allocations board, they still have that 20% that we left behind for them to use, and they can start off next year and actually have an allocations board instead of not having money at all. So from that percentage for each semester, student organizations have a cap for how much they can ask for, which is 10% of that budget. So for this year, it's a lot more than last year. I think last year was about 1,800. That was the maximum that a student organization can ask for. This year, thanks to Ali, last year's chief of finance, we have so much money that they can ask for $5,042 as the max amount. So student organizations that weren't able to tier or ended up in a lower tier than they expected, or provisional student organizations, which are student organizations that are new to campus this year and don't have tier funding, they can come to allocations board and easily request enough money to have any event or basically do anything that they're trying to do. Any questions about the SGA budget? Yes.
So, like, is the cap solely for the allocations account, or
Yeah,
is
it's a whole separate account. That's just
Okay.
for allocations board.
And can you make the font possibly a bit larger? It's a little difficult to see.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to get everything else. Does anyone else have any questions before I move to SOIS?
Just to make it clear, the overall SGA budget's 140,000, and then the allocations, it's 120.
26, but that's a
26,000.
completely
That's
separate
just separate, okay.
Yeah. Any other questions? Okay. You guys can interrupt me if, like, at any point it's confusing, and I know, like, numbers are kind of hard to work with. So this one, this is essentially for tiering. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the tiering process, but last year in April we had Express Night, which is when we all work together to tier student organizations. And tiering is essentially, we break them down into 4 categories that we have listed here, based on a point system that the SOIS senators came up with. And really the way it works is the more points you get, the higher you are in tiering, so you can be tier 1 even, or tier 2, and that means you'll get more money from SGA to fund events. So obviously that amount that you get from SGA decreases as you move down in tiers. So the way it's allocated this year is we came up with cutoffs for the points. So for example, at 120 points, you move up to the next tier. For tier 1, after 420.5 points, you move up to tier 1. So it's a point system, like I said. And for students that came at Express Night, we tiered them. There were 9 organizations in tier 1, 15 in tier 2, 14 in tier 3, and 8 in tier 4. And the percentage allocation that they came out to was 3.5% for each org in tier 1, 2.6% for each org in tier 2, 1.75% for each org in tier 3, and 0.5% for each org in tier 4. So they're getting money from this 108,500, which is that 77.5% that I was telling you about earlier, from that total SGA budget of 140,000. So after calculations, this comes out to an allocation of about 3,800 for tier 1, 2,800 for tier 2, 1,900 for tier 3, and 540 for tier 4. Any questions? I know it's a little complicated, yeah.
Could you repeat the number of organizations in tier 3 and tier 4?
So tier 3 is 14 orgs,
Okay.
and tier 4 is 8 orgs.
Can you just explain how they're assigned into tiers, and that the numbers aren't just like made, the cutoff numbers, it's because the bell curve? Can you explain that?
Yeah. So I worked with last year's SOIS Senator, May, to come up with, she's more familiar with the process, and they did the breakdown last year. So I worked with her to figure out how we can get kind of an equal amount of orgs in tier 2 and 3, and then the remainders in tier 1 and 4. And it came out to be that this point breakdown, so these cutoffs for points, is how we can get 9 orgs in tier 1 and the remainder in the rest of the tiers. And obviously it didn't come out equal. There's 15 in tier 2 and 14 in tier 3. But that will change when appeals come in as well. So appeals are essentially organizations that don't agree with the tier that they get after this vote. When we send it out, and they appeal, and they basically say, hey, we believe we should be in a completely different tier, and then we re-tier them and recalculate their points and see if you know, their appeal is valid, and if they actually do move up into the next tier, yes.
So is the bell curve or like this distribution set? So if we re-tier one organization, will all the other organizations have to be re-tiered, or are we just moving them up or down?
No, they're just going to move up or down because the point cutoff won't change. So, for example, we'll talk about Coptic Society because it's the easiest example. They're at 673 points, and the cutoff for tier 1 is 675. So if we were to re-tier Coptic Society after, let's say they appeal and they say we think we should be in tier 1, and we re-tier them, we recalculate their SOIS points, and it comes out to 676, they would move up into tier 1, and it would be 10 organizations in tier 1 instead of 9. So we won't have to really adjust everyone else's. Okay, so since we brought up appeals, there's 2 separate budgets. One is a high budget and one is a low budget. So this is a high budget in which we assume that we're not going to have appeals, and we give the max amount of money we can to all the student organizations. So in this case, we give a total of about $107,000 to the student orgs, and this leaves $1,085 in provisional funds. That's for student orgs that are new on campus and don't have any source of funding since they can't tier and can't get SOIS funds. So this is about 1% of the total SOIS budget. So it's a very small amount. So that's the high budget. And then we have the low budget, which is where we assume that we're going to have appeals. So I accounted for the possible appeals like Coptic Society and a few others. And I left 7.75% of the SOIS budget for those appeals. And that leaves $8,408.75. So this is for, like we said, for Coptic Society. If they appeal and they end up with 676 points and they move to tier 1, we don't have to adjust everyone else's amount because we would just give them money from this remaining pool of money.
Or a tier 4 to tier 3 or 3
Yeah,
to 2.
any way that they move. So any organization that would move up after an appeal would receive money from this smaller fund. Any questions about that? So I just want to make it clear, today you're going to vote on whether we're going with the high budget, which means we're only leaving 1,000 and we're not really accounting for appeals, or the low budget where we are accounting for possible appeals and where we have leftover money so that, let's say we don't have enough appeals and we have this 8,400 left over, we redistribute it amongst all the organizations. Any questions? I know this is all like complicated, I'm throwing numbers at you, so if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Is everyone clear?
Motion to ask a question. Okay, so this is not, it's kind of related. I want to know if an organization were to have food or like some food at an event, I think the rules are different now. You have to do it through Rutgers Dining.
If you're having the event at, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you're having the event at Rosen, you're required to get food only through gourmet dining. If you're having it anywhere else, you can still get it from gourmet dining, but you're also open to get it from any other vendor. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. So gourmet dining, and actually we have Brian here from gourmet dining, but it's the exclusive caterer for our Paul Robeson Campus Center where majority of student organization events happen, but they're also preferred caterer for any other spaces on campus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And if there's any questions about like a budget or anything, just speak to me personally and I'll see what I can do.
Any other questions? I know it's a lot, I'm sorry.
Are we clear on what the high budget is versus the low?
Please make sure you are clear on that because that's what you're voting on today. So if you don't understand, you can ask anything. Yes.
Motion to clarify. So the low budget is, it would be less, but there would be more money being distributed across the orgs.
It means that there's less per org only because I'm leaving so much like as a separate amount for appeals. That's why it's lower, because orgs are getting a lower amount of money for the time being. Obviously, if we don't use up this 8,000 in appeals, we will redistribute. But just a justification for leaving this much out instead of giving it all to organizations. One, I am accounting for possible appeals, which there are chances that we will have based on the points that we have, because so many people are close to cutoffs for tiers. But the second thing is allocation board has so much money that there is no reason not to account for appeals. Didn't get enough money right now in the low budget, and they don't appeal, or they appeal and their appeal isn't like granted, and they stay in their tier. If they run out of money, we have enough in allocations board that they can come to us, or they can co-sponsor with other organizations, which is always like a very easy way to kind of split the budget for an event. So, Any questions?
If we have no further discussion, can we get a motion on the floor to vote on either? Second. Motion vote on high budget, second. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna vote for the high budget. All in favor, raise your hand. All against? All abstaining?
I mean, I vote for high budget.
So high budget passes. Okay.
Okay, so just so you guys know, we just voted on the high budget where organizations are getting the maximum amount possible, and we have 1,085 left in provisional funds.
So before we move on, this year we'll be doing appeals a little differently. In the past, we've invited the orgs to make presentations, but we feel as a board that it just doesn't really make much sense. It can be biased sometimes. A lot of emotion gets into it. So this time for all appeals, orgs will reach out to us. We'll have all this week, and we'll recount them with Kainat and someone else. We'll double check everything in case that they forgot something or the senator who tiered them made the error. So that's how we'll base on all the appeals. Okay, so next we have the Judicial Committee. So, Kainat, Judicial Committee, you said you reached out to.
Oh, that was elections committee, judicial committee.
Okay, okay.
I have one person who from last year is already going to stay.
Okay, so I believe the Senate gets to, yeah, they get to nominate 3 people. Yeah, the Senate gets to nominate 3 members of the Judicial Committee. The Judicial Committee is a separate body that resolves problems with the SGA. So any kind of like arbitrators, their most important functions during elections, if problems arise there, there's problems between candidates and the Elections Committee. So if you have anyone who's interested, let me know, and we can possibly nominate them next Monday. Okay, and then we have speakers of the Senate. So pretty much it's amongst you guys to choose your co-speakers of the Senate who can act as leaders in the Senate, really like working with me more closely and like making sure everyone is on the same page and knows how they can do everything, as well as lead the Senate caucus meetings, because during the semester, some meetings will separate, so the Senate will be on their own, and you'll be able to do your committee work, and the executive board will be on our own. So the co-speakers of the Senate can lead those meetings. So if I can get any nominations, anyone's interested.
I motion to table it for next week.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
Okay. All right. That's good then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then we're okay. We're gonna do that next meeting then. All right. University Senate. So University Senate, if you don't know, is a separate entity from us. It's a Senate that meets for all 3 Rutgers campuses. They mostly meet in New Brunswick, some are in Camden, some are in Newark, and they discuss more kind of policy and academic things that have to do with all of Rutgers. So if you're interested in that, go. You can volunteer. Kevin volunteered. It's one Friday a month. It's basically all day, but it's one Friday a month during this semester and next semester. It's a pretty cool experience. Ricky, our media center who's not here, he did it. So you can ask him about his experiences in that. But if you're interested in doing that, volunteer yourself, or you can find more people and nominate them as next meeting as well.
So do we have all the academic senators
route to go to University Senate, or are we gonna, or do we have any spots that are open? Because I know SPA is still.
Yeah, SPA is definitely open. There's only one SPA seat. So yeah, there's also like a confusion that I'm gonna resolve this week, is that you're reaching out. There are a lot of people who are interested in SGA, and because we also have 2 vacant SPA seats for our academic centers here. And a lot of people at the SPA school are interested in that, but I don't think they know the difference between this and University Senate, so I'm gonna reach out to all of them and like explain the difference to them. And then those who are interested in seats here can run in the fall election, and otherwise if they're interested in University Senate, they can come present and we can nominate who we want.
So I already reached out in the summer to anyone that was interested, and we got like 19 people, and then I sent out another email explaining that they can be appointed for University Senate, and if they want to run for the SGA spot, they have to run in the fall. And I got 2 responses of people that were interested in being on University Senate. I believe I sent them to the SGA account. I don't know.
I'll double check,
Yeah.
because I think like all that stuff was kind of clear, but I'll double check.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned volunteering for University Senate, so that'd be like just a volunteer position where like you'd sit in separate from the academic senators, actually a part of the University Senate, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's one Friday a month. I have all the dates. Do we have a list somewhere of who we have?
It's on there.
Well, that's not, yeah, we're gonna have to update the list and go through it as a board with all the positions. And then we'll discuss it more next week.
So does one senator confer have to go on the 10th, or?
In the past, we've had it like where academic senators, it was mandatory for academic senators, but last semester we kind of devolved that into making it separate because it's kind of like unrealistic to expect, you know, both from everyone. So so it's not mandatory, but we still need that representation somehow. Okay, there's no further discussion. We'll move on to Fall Elections Committee. Fall elections. So our fall elections are important. We do them every fall. We always fill the new student senator seats for any first years or transfer students who weren't here the year prior but want to get involved, and they can represent new students. And we also use it to fill any vacant positions. I believe we have 2 SPA. Do we have 1 student affairs, 1 community outreach? I think that's it.
Criminal justice, please.
And we have 2 criminal justice now. We're good. Yeah, last semester we filled that. I think that's it. We have 2 diversity, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, she's not, wasn't updated. So yeah, that's what we have open, and then we have to figure out who's going to be on the fall elections committee. So the fall elections are a lot more chill than the spring elections, so kind of was reaching out to the prior elections committee, and we'll ask if they want to be involved again for this fall. Otherwise, we can try to branch out and find more people. Okay. Constitution Day is September 17th, so we're going to have an event. We booked Paul Robeson 237, I think that's the Monmouth Room, 6 to 9. And during that week, we're going to be working with like the ballot bowl, different orgs. We're going to try to like table a lot, introduce ourselves as students, and also do voter registration. So like anyone wants to kind of like take the lead on like working with student orgs on that,
Can we get more information for the event and anything that came up for Constitution Day? Because I know like we lost sight of like get involved with that.
So the tabling is all up in the air right now, like who we want, like who's going to be involved, because we'll take anyone who wants to be involved, and we'll make it into basically whatever the students want to make it. Event-wise, we have like further some detail?
So what we'll do is there anyone interested in volunteering for a Constitutional Day on the Senate? So Sarah, Harrison. Okay. So that, and then someone, I think, someone from eWord is gonna like head the event, and then we'll work on it together.
Oh, is it Tuesday?
The 17th is a Tuesday.
Yeah. what else? What would we plan on doing during the 6 hour event?
Just a few things that are up for grabs. I mean, we'll talk more if people are interested.
It's basically in the air with the orbs. If we want to talk about specific rights in the Constitution, make it more educational.
That's true. Okay, so also I'll be working on student org dinners. So that is date is slipping my mind, but we're trying to book it on University Club. But that changed, so it's like I don't know if you guys have seen University Club. It's different than what it was last year. So I'm still working with reservations. So I'm saying if they might have different reservation policies now, because usually that's where we do our student org dinner, and then we usually use a projector for like activities or some type of event. That may not happen this year in that space, but if not, I'm looking at other spaces to hold it. Again, that's open to the Senate if anyone wants to volunteer from student org dinner. I'll be working on that from the executive board side. Yeah, if anyone wants to volunteer, you can reach out to me or.
Do you have the date?
It's not like we didn't reserve a room yet, but we were thinking on a date once it has it, but we're still trying to work it. But we want to like bring all the student orgs together and have them like network with each other.
Maybe this fall.
Yeah, it's this month. So basically the goal of it is to just have all the student organization leadership just come, introduce each other. We play games, so like as icebreakers last year we did Jeopardy, and the room was split up into two, and we did Jeopardy and everyone kind of got to know each other. And it's cool for new leaders that are coming in both in SGA and other organizations to meet each other, to know each other. And often, you guys will see this, that a lot of organizations have plans for, certain objectives or certain things they want to target during the semester, and sometimes it overlaps with other organizations. So it's a perfect way for other multiple organizations to work together and achieve the same goal on campus, but to make it even better, right? Sharing, allocating resources together makes for usually a stronger, better event. Just give me 1 second to find Dave. You can continue and I'll just update it once I find it.
Okay, all right, we'll move on to the next agenda item. He finds the proposed date. So executive leadership retreat. It's a free trip that Office of Student Life and Leadership does. I went last year. It was a really cool experience. It's free. You just need to put down a $20 deposit. You'll get it back, assuming that you go. It's pretty cool. Last time we went to Frost Valley in upstate New York. I believe they're changing the location this time, but it's a cool thing to go to like not only get to know other student leaders on campus, but like more about yourself. And there's a lot of like teamwork and team building activities and stuff. It's pretty cool, and you're also like isolated. You're not really you can't really be on your phone. There's like no service or anything. You just get to know each other. Yeah, it's a cool experience. So I can't constitutionally make it mandatory for everyone to go, but like, it's a really cool experience. Like I would urge, any of you to go and take the opportunity. So that'll be October 4th to 6th. Just like kind of over a weekend.
So I found a day for student leadership dinner. It's 9/18, September 18th from 6 to 9, which is a Wednesday. So that's the proposed date right now. So I'm just working with reservations right now so I can get that done. But that's basically it.
So for the leadership retreat, I saw like an application on, I think, Greater Point.
Yeah. So yeah, OSLL does like their application form just because they can only take a certain amount of people. It's open to everyone, in the student body. So for like further information, go directly to them because they're the one getting all the venues and figuring out the logistics. And that's the way you apply. It's on Bergen.
Okay, so even SGA members have to go through the application process?
Yeah, it's a quick form
Okay.
thing on Bergen. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just dive into initiatives. So first we have textbook drive. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so Sabrina usually leads a textbook drive, but since she's not going to speak on it, basically what the goal is that if there's unused textbooks at the end of the semester, we collected a few at the last semester. The goal is if there's unused textbooks that students have, they're graduating and they don't need them anymore, they already bought them, maybe resale value is not too much, so they just want to donate them back, recollect them, and then we open up an application for students, incoming students, for certain textbooks or clickers or certain things you might need for class. And if by chance we have that and we connect that need to demand, then we just give it out for free. And then we just ask them to return it at the end of the semester. semester and just continuing the process. So more or less that's what's been going on. Any specific questions I can address? I don't want to dive too deep into it because again,
Is
short
that
on
also
time.
include clickers or just textbooks?
Anything. So clickers, textbooks. I can't think of anything besides clickers and textbooks. Yeah, not online textbooks, like physical textbooks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't think of anything besides clickers and textbooks. But anything you guys might need for the classroom that I'm forgetting, we take.
Okay. Next, food pantry. We've seen the food pantry grow a lot over the last few semesters. Next meeting, we will vote on how much money we're going to allot to them, because constitutionally, we passed an amendment that says we have to give them some kind of funding. So it's like, I think it's 1 to 3%, and we'll vote on like a certain amount next meeting. And if anyone has any other questions about the food pantry or any updates, feel free.
Last semester, I remember we passed a resolution that whatever the senators don't use out of their funding, 50% goes back to the food pantry. Is that still in place, or was it just a resolution for that academic year?
So that was a resolution I introduced last year. That was only a temporary resolution, so that's not currently in effect now. If you want to introduce the same or similar resolution, feel free next meeting. Just let me know that you want to add it to the agenda. Whenever, also side note, whenever you want to introduce any kind of legislation, like a temporary resolution, amendment, just let me know and I'll work with you and we'll get it on the agenda. Okay, and so referendum. Last semester on the election, we had a referendum that was spearheaded by RSJP. It passed with 81% saying yes, that the Rutgers University in total shouldn't be invested in, actually let me pull it up, the actual word. It was like, Rutgers should not be invested in companies or corporations that are invested in the Israeli settlements in the occupied Palestine region, West Bank, or Gaza. So it passed overwhelmingly, so what are we going to do now? We've talked to Chancellor Cantor about it, but really it's on us to kind of mobilize that. And with the student orgs, there were a bunch of orgs that also co-sponsored the referendum. So now that we've passed it, we have those results to show. We have to bring it up the higher channels of administration, so we have to figure out how we're going to do that. So we will be doing that this semester. You want to say something? Okay. And then Sabrina's not here, but okay.
So basically, yeah. So President Bergen said that Erdogan is coming to the East Coast for like a speaking thing. Long story short, they were looking for a venue. Rutgers, New York was a potential venue, but it won't be happening. They found another venue in New York City. So that's all. We could talk more.
Yeah, every year he comes to the United States and makes like a tour of speaking, and I don't know, briefly it was like possible. So, but yeah, whatever. And then the next initiative, prison reform, an event with Yusuf Salam.
Yeah, so that's another thing. Yeah, Sabrina and I are going to be working along with the rest of the board. And of course, all of these are, by the way, always open to the Senate. If you guys ever want to volunteer in any initiative, there isn't ever an initiative that we're going to say no for volunteers. So if there's something that piques your interest, please feel free to always join. But for this, basically, she met with his coordinator in a conference in Texas. So we're looking at a possibility of inviting him. If you guys aren't familiar, Yusuf Salam is one of the Central Park Five. He was one of the people that were arrested in that famous case in the mid-90s that happened in Central Park. And it recently got into Variety in the Netflix documentary. I'm forgetting the name. When Does He, right? Yeah. So yeah, that's where it's been getting up a lot of attention recently. So that's a potential thing that we're looking at, having him coming into Rutgers New York for like a talk or something along those lines. Maybe a viewing. So another thing we thought of was, since it's a 5-set, it's a 5-episode series. So maybe one day of each week showing an episode, and then culminating that with Yusuf Salam coming at the end of the week, which goes to the next point of reservations of Netflix policy. And basically, so you're allowed as a student organization and as SGA to show Netflix documentaries as long as it's for educational purpose and you're not profiting from it. There's just some information going around that you weren't allowed as a club or organization to show Netflix, anything on Netflix. So that was just a clarification on that. Any questions on that? Basic point was we are allowed to show Netflix documentaries for educational purpose. The main thing is as long as you're not profiting from it, as long as you're not like doing ticketing, like outside or something, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, I think the Office of Reservations and Special Events is just like playing it safe with their policy, and that they don't want anyone to like, you know, mess up and then have to go through all this legal junk. But if anyone wants to kind of like take up a discussion with them, like the policy, because you can. Netflix does not have a problem with you screening like their originals and documentaries. So as long as it's, you know, a one-time thing and you're not profiting at all, which is for education. So if anyone does want to take up on that, just reach out to us, whatever, you know. And then we have.
Do we like need to let anyone know, or like do clubs need to let anyone know if they're going to show something, and is this limited only to for educational purposes?
Yeah, before we reach out to clubs, because the reason for their policy is that they want to play it safe, we should have a discussion with them, and that like how we can kind of, you know, make that clarification for all the works.
Point of information, the referendums that we quickly mentioned earlier, I just want to understand what the rules are for referendums, or can any student propose one, or?
So the referendum, it has to be proposed by a senator, it has Senate support, and then to get it onto the election, it had to be voted on, and it was passed, and then the elections committee had to put it on to the ballot.
Okay, so it's proposed by senators?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, any student can get, you know, a senator to propose it, especially when we start having our hearings to the public. Senators do represent the students, so any student can reach out to their senators and just pass it through there, and then the elections committee has to put it on the ballot if it passes. Okay, and then we have proposed Carnival with IFSC, so Hamza's the one who's like handling the logistics on this one, so we can come back to it when he returns. So next, we can introduce Brian from GDS.
Hey guys, some familiar faces, some new faces here. If you don't know who I am, my name is Brian Conway. I run the dining program here. I'm going to give you a little overview of what's new this year, and then maybe something that SGA can either help me with or we can partner with. Obviously, my theme this year is fun. It's always fun. We have celebrity chefs coming. We have some great ideas, like sushi this week. Everybody loves the sushi, but we're also doing something called Camp Stonesby. Food that you would get at summer camp. We'll play foosball. We'll throw some things. So if you have any ideas for fun in the dining hall, I'm looking for all of those things because I want to make the experience for the meal plan program holders and for anyone who's dining with us a fun time. We've got the new Starbucks going to come online down at the business school. We're looking to open that in January. You may have seen the farmer's fridge downstairs. This is a new healthy concept. Just recently, I realized that the farmer's fridge, once they're done with their food, they're donating it somewhere else. I've gotten them to divert their donations to our pantry now. So at the end of that week, if those items aren't eaten, they'll be diverted to the pantry and given to people who need food. There's a lot of exciting things going on in dining, but I just want to let you guys know that I'm here. I'm here to listen to what any changes that the students would like to have, or ways we can help each other. I know it's small, but I'm going to go look to change all of the commuters' silverware and everything we give to biodegradable items. I know it's a small thing, but I think we can make some simple changes. I've even asked Starbucks to, we can't stop the straws, right? But we also have available sippy lids for those who don't want to use the straws. So we're looking for incremental changes that maybe the dining program can do to help save this planet and make us a more sustainable and socially conscious dining program. There are some changes to the meal plans. This year I'm allowing students to take their meal plan to go. So without having to use that 4-hour window, if you wanted to use your swipe at Stonesby Commons and just go back to your room because you don't want to deal with it, we're allowing that to happen. That's new this year also. The HLC program, who was forced to not be in their dorm this year and move to the apartment complex, they're having an issue. So Gourmet Dining, partnering with hopefully someone here, but Gourmet Dining is going to do it. We're going to offer all those students a meal exchange. For the HLC students, they don't have a meal exchange. They're given their meal program as part of their package. and they're not allowed to eat in other venues, but this year I'm gonna allow them to do that at least once a week, to try and just help them out in case they had to go back to they're missing the shuttle, or if they have to go back to the hotel. So making some good changes in the dining hall. I'm actually gonna ask for your guys' help, as I always do. If you have any connections with any of the clubs, please reach out to them, let them know we're looking to co-sponsor, and have some exciting and fun year this year in the dining hall. If you have any questions, please let me know. I always lean on this program here because you guys know people better than I do. I'm gonna give the executive committee these passes. These are to Stonesby Commons. If you see a student who's in need of a meal, or if they just need to, hang out on campus, they have nowhere to go, and you wanna reach out to them and they reach out to you, give them one of these. They can enter Stonesby Commons at any time. Just hand it to the cashier, and it's as if it's like an entry escape to them. So if you need more, let me know. If you have maybe something you want to talk to me in private, hey, this student, they're not able to eat, what can you do? Ask me about it. Earlier you mentioned the catering thing. Ask me about it. Give me an opportunity to address any of the needs you have or any of your constituents so that we can have a successful year. So, thank you guys all.
Yes, one question about the meal to go program. I previously recall something about you can order ahead or something like that. Could you explain in a bit more depth what the meal to go program is now?
Absolutely. Well, the meal to go program was designed if you had a job or an internship or you were unable to be there. There used to be, and there still is, a 4-hour window to order online. Right? You can go online for our Meals to Go program on our dining website, and it says, click here, pick your thing. Now, I've never honored that 4-hour window. If you guys put it in, I did it right away, and it didn't matter. But in the process of doing it online, you can just walk up to the cash register lady and say, hey, listen, I'm not staying today. You have to have a meal plan. It can't be cash or credit card or anything like that. It's a perk of being on the meal plan. And you just walk up to the cash register lady. She gives you a to-go container. She keeps your card, fill the to-go container, come back, she swipes your card, puts a top on it, and out you go.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Please.
So what are the opening hours for Rutgers Gourmet Dining? It may seem like a stupid question,
No.
but I just want to know.
Which venue or which kind of thing are you speaking about? Because we operate 5-6 venues here on the campus.
The one on, second floor.
Down here, in this building.
Yeah, when is it open?
Starbucks opens at 8 a.m.
Okay.
The retail program opens at 11 o'clock for lunch. The farmer's fridge was added outside of that cage, so you guys have access to that food prior to us opening. And I believe the C-store opens at 10 a.m. Stonesby Commons, though, is open from 7:30 a.m. to midnight, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Thursday and Friday. And then they do lunch and dinner on the weekends, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m.
If I could say one thing, Brian's been instrumental in the past few years with working with SGA, and I want to say thank you, but also to you guys, if you guys ever have an event or anything, please always feel free to reach out to him. I remember did surveys once, and Brian's always there to help with us, giving us Starbucks gift cards to incentivize to get sign up for surveys, or basically any way you can, Brian. I don't think there's been a time I've gone to Brian and he said, no, I can't help you. So every time he's been helping us and helping me in particular in any events we try to do. So thank you, Brian, and again for another
I'm unable to say no, so chase me down.
Yeah, thank you.
So Brian's very receptive, and if you guys choose to continue the dining committee, you'll be working closely with him and channeling students' ideas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Dan from Housing. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan LaFuente. I'm the Assistant Dean Director of Residence Life here representing Housing and Res Life to make sure that you all kind of have a face to a name, etc. in case you live on campus or if you know students that live on campus and going through their residential experience. And so my big role as Res Life is, like I say, about the residential experience and what they're experiencing, calling this place their home. And so we know that we have about 14,000 students, as Coralie said earlier, Dr. Thomas, that attend Rutgers Newark. On campus, we have about 2,000 students that live here and call this home. And so my role, along with all of my staff, is to make sure that they're enjoying their time in housing, whether they're studying, living, sleeping, etc. And so I always want people to kind of know who I am, so that you can come out and reach out to me if you ever have any questions, concerns, etc. And so my office is in Woodward Hall, so it's right outside the main entrance to the residence hall. There's Housing and Residence Life, and I'm right in there. I basically supervise all of the RAs, the hall staff, so you're talking about the graduate assistants at each of the residence halls, and then of course the full-time staff members that are there helping adjudicate any issues, concerns, etc., or mitigate any problems that they may be having with our facilities. And so I just wanted to come in, share with you all a little bit of some highlights. I think we may be scheduling another meeting later this month to kind of go full force into what we did. But this summer we did a lot of deep cleaning in the residence halls when they were closed, and so if you knew that this summer, Talbot Apartments and Woodward Hall were both closed, and so I know they came in and did a lot of the shampooing of the carpets for those rooms that do have carpet. They replaced some of the furniture over in Woodward Hall, so I think their living rooms all got brand new living room furniture sets. We did a lot of replacement of lighting. Lighting is still one of our big projects for Talbot and Woodward. And so they're trying to put together some budgets right now to do an entire renovation of lighting in both of those residence halls. But there's been a lot going on. Of course, you all are aware that yes, the HLLC new 48 New Street was delayed in construction due to, of course, an archaeological find at the beginning of their development. But of course, that we're hoping to have on board sometime this fall semester, if not right before the spring semester. We don't want to uphold people within their academic adventures, et cetera. But right now, we are working on wait lists. We're doing occupancy checks, et cetera, for anybody that hasn't shown up, so that we can get people into housing as many as possible, because we know that is a major need for students. But we're super extremely busy, but I want to make sure that you all know we are here. We have staff. We're around 24/7. If you know, there's 2 offices that are here open 24/7 in a sense, and that's RUPD and Housing and Res Life. We never close, and so we have staff rooms on call 24 hours a day to help assist with anything. And so if you have any questions, concerns, always feel free to reach out to us. We're here to partner with you all, et cetera. To let you know, you're probably going to see a lot more animals around campus. We do have a higher number of emotional support animals and service animals, both in housing and just around campus. And so if you ever hear somebody talking about like them needing an emotional support animal, you can always point them in my direction or the Office of Disability Services, and we will help them through that process if by chance they have documentation approval through medical physicians, et cetera. But we do have a bit more of those. And we do partner with a lot of different places. One thing I want to mention, because I haven't heard it necessarily yet, one thing the food pantry is going to be doing a lot of this fall is letting people know that we have can openers as well now. I'm not sure if that's something, it's something we heard about in Housing and Res Life and in the food pantry, that we were giving out a lot of cans, but a lot of people didn't necessarily have a can opener. And so several offices around campus partnered together this summer and bought tons of can openers. And so if you need a can opener or anything like that, feel free to stop over to the food pantry. They have some. But if you also need anything from us, or if you want to partner, we have space in Housing and Res Life where programs can happen. And so we are more than welcome to partner with you all. And so I welcome you all. I know you'll do great work. And hopefully we can communicate and continue to collaborate. So, thank you.
Okay, we're actually getting through everything. I'm surprised. Okay, so the next.
Your motion to return to the Carnival.
Okay.
So yeah, we've been playing the Carnival. Ricky was helping from the Senate. Unfortunately, he's not here. But what happened was the goal was to do it this Wednesday, but then there's a recharge, and then last Wednesday was the convocation. So we're looking at doing it with IFSC later this month. Still working on dates, pretty much still working on everything at this point. But once the date is done, then we could usually, it's pretty easy once the date is solidified and space is solidified to just go with any excuse for a party. We worked with them in the past, so they usually know what type of needs we need, and they're pretty good at addressing those. Yeah, some questions.
Is it going to be during free period on Wednesday or night or?
So yeah, we're still looking at all those options. So the thing is, so ideally we want a free period because that's when you can use speakers and stuff. So you can't use DJ or speakers at any other time besides free period. So ideally that's what we want. But since it is a free period, sometimes it's difficult to get. So it's open to anyone who wants to volunteer or help out. I'll be working on that as well.
Is it open to the Senate?
Sorry?
Is it open to the Senate?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, again, if you guys want to help out, shoot me a message. You guys don't have to make that call right now, but later on if you feel like you want to help out, just feel free to group me or text me or
Okay. So the last big event we're planning, this one's farther ahead. It's the Open Forum. It's October 28th. We already have the Essex room booked. Pretty much, we're going to have Chancellor Cantor, other members of the administration, just invite students and student orgs, basically just ask any kind of open questions with their administration and about their school. This is an event that SGA's had many times, but it's something that we really want to blast out. So we're definitely going to need a flyer from our media senators. So even if you could like talk with Ricky and discuss how you want to do that, shoot us some ideas for the flyer. Because we have more time with this one, but we also still want to like blast it out really soon. So I'll be working on that event, and I'll be inviting all the student orgs, and we'll be blasting out social media. So if anyone also wants to help with that, just send me a message. Next, we have Community Engagement Day. That's a really, really huge event our school does, sponsored by Office of Student Life and Leadership. I've gone before personally. I'm going to be participating again this time. Roughly, I don't know, 300, give or take, students go out. They're trying to get more, go out and volunteer in different ways in Newark and around Newark and the surrounding area. It's a really good way for us to really uphold that motto we have in Newark of Newark. So look for that. It'll be on BraverLink, I think, when they open up for OSLL, when you can apply just to go and you register. They usually do something like first 100 people get like shirts or something, or they have a lot of food. So definitely a really cool thing to do. So if you want to do that, go for it. And then this is, now I'm just going to open it up to you guys if you want to address anything, and then we can open it to the public before we adjourn.
Could I just add something? Sorry, I forgot to mention the Carnival. So one thing that will be required from everyone is, so whenever the Carnival is decided, of course if you're free, as long as you're not class, we're going to have an SGA tent. So in that tent we'll be giving out material, SGA materials, sign-ups for people, which is SGA spreading the word out. So that's required for everyone to sign up for a slot. Slot will be just coordinated through via Dylan. But yeah, so that's only required on that day.
As you just pointed out that I did skip something important. We have to form committees. I don't think we really have enough time today to really solidify them, but we can put out our interests. So like certain committees that are important are SOIS, which we would ask Kevin if he would chair that because of his position. And pretty much that's knowing the ins and outs of how tiering works and any kind of changes that students or SOL or whoever would like to see be made. So we have that committee, we have dining committee, I think we had sexual assault awareness committee, finance committee, really any kind of committee you think is important, we can form. So it's really up to you how you want to go about and what we continue having.
So committees are open to the public, right? So like any student can join do that, right?
Yeah, I can use that. But it can't just only be students, it has to be centers, yeah.
Point of information, since I'm like fairly related to SGA. Did the dining committee also include initiatives to fight student hunger as well? Is that incorporated?
Yeah, that was incorporated. I believe the chair last year was Chris Paz, so if you could, I could connect you with him. He met with Brian a lot, and we can go from there if you want to take that committee on.
Yes.
You're interested in, okay, yeah. So we also have SOIS, which Kevin would ask that you chair. You could have a co-chair if you wanted. Maybe that will be the next student affairs centers that we elect, but if anyone else wants to be involved in that or any other committees, just. And as I said, we don't have to solidify them now. Next week we can solidify them, but I just wanted to put them out there now. All right. Is there any further discussion?
You said that Bergen was going to come here to Rutgers Newark this week?
No, that's not going to happen now. It was just a proposed idea we had when we were drafting the agenda. Then once we got an update from Sabrina, it can't happen now. It's just like logistic, yeah, something.
I have to run my electrical. There's like no seats back there. Alright, sorry guys, but feel free to message me if there's anything.
For now, I'll open it up to all of you if you want to address any kind of initiative or speak on something, that we can open it to anyone else. If anyone would like to speak?
Hey everyone, my name is Brian. I'm with Student Organized Rutgers Against Hunger, and we have a lot of programming in place these next few weeks to address a lot of the issues discussed today. So please feel free to get in contact with me. I'll be reaching out to some of you who already know me, and you can spread my email there. But with National Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week coming up in November, we have a lot of advocacy in the works, and all these initiatives, including how dining can be worked in, and certain student groups, of course, working within your committees, obviously all fall back upon what we're doing. So please pull our resources together. We can make a bigger impact that way. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I will also be running for the student affairs position that is open. So thank you.
just wanted to let you guys know really quick, I sent the message in the group chat this morning, that was from Brian. So if any of you are available on Fridays, 4 to 5 p.m., please let me know, or you can talk to Brian directly, and just coordinate with him so you guys can help him out and help out Sora. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm president of the SJP on campus. So on the topic of the referendum, from what I understand, Sabrina and Ricky, they met with Vice-Chancellor Thomas last semester, and they discussed some of the BDS things, such as like Coca-Cola products, for example. They have a contract going on with them. So we talked to her, but the SJP was not included in the meeting. So I think we need to have a second meeting and include us in it, because certain questions weren't asked. For example, Ricky told me that we cannot ban the use of Caterpillar equipment on campus, such as the one that's being used in the library right now, because it's not, the contractor that they hire uses that equipment. So we can't pretty much invade on what they want to use. But we got a clause to the contractor saying, hey, you cannot use X and Y equipment. Whereas the Coca-Cola, maybe we could renegotiate the contract. I feel like we need to have a second meeting, because I feel like it was like swiped under the table last semester, and we didn't get much done, and we need a meeting with the cancer if we can. Sorry, I came out of nowhere with this. I didn't say my thoughts, but pretty much, I think we need to have a second meeting with Vice-Chancellor Cancer, because a lot of questions weren't addressed, and there's no way to follow up. It was more like, yeah, I want to do it, but we can't, kind of thing. So I think we need to have a further discussion on that.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, thank you.